Good morning, Bitcoin. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is Proof of Work. Proof of Work is a show about the people behind Bitcoin and how they got into it. We're joined by Theo Goodman. How's it going, Theo?
Good, good.
We'd like to start you off with our most favorite and familiar question. What was your first computer?
Oh, wow, we're really diving right into it. Technically, I mean, it was not mine, but the first computer that I did anything with was, of course, an Apple IIe at school. And it was pretty epic, and it was really important. So at my school, there was a computer lab, and each class got a certain amount of time assigned. I think I don't remember what grade I was in, but I think that we got, 1 or 2 hours a week, probably 1 hour a week or 1 hour every other week. And sometimes we did assignments, and sometimes we could do whatever we wanted, which was actually pretty cool, because a lot of times, so if I remember correctly, there was a typing program, and actually I will give a lot of credit to the Apple IIe gamification typing program, to me being able to type with 10 fingers pretty well, actually. Because we used to, so what it was a program, and it told you what to type, and it showed you how to hold your hands. Now, of course, you could cheat and not hold your hands, and some people would do that, because then it would give you the speed, and we would try to up each other. Even though there was no centralized leaderboard, we would just be like, oh man, I got 105, and we'd be going like, A, B, A, B, A, S, 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 But that was the first one, and actually, I really like to come back to that, because the way the Apple IIe worked was you turned it on, you took a floppy disk.
Oh, you better put the disk in before you turn it on.
No, I think, it was different. The Apple IIe, you turn it on, and it was the cool green screen style, and then you put the disk in, close the disk drive, and hit enter, and then the program starts. And that's all you have to do. There was no typing stuff, no command line. So actually they got the user experience for back then in the 80s pretty good. I mean, of course, each program required a new disk.
Yep.
However, back then, nobody knew any different anyway, really, so it didn't matter.
Well, it's interesting the way you mentioned the gamification and how just by timing and then tracking your mistakes, they were able to help you improve with typing.
Yeah.
I have the same thing now with Duolingo. I'm trying to learn German, and I just click on random words, and I'm right and I'm wrong, but it's just right there on my phone. You had to have a whole clunky, heavy computer to do that. Yeah,
so there were other, they had other learning games. Number Munchers, one of them was called.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And but of course the classic, which is Oregon Trail, of course.
Yeah.
How can you teach young kids to internalize that manifest destiny is something to be glorified? It's pretty easy. You get them playing Oregon Trail from an early age, but it has good things, because you have to have a good budget for your supplies on the Oregon Trail. Survival skills, if you can hunt, how much time, you have to make decisions, all this. So I don't know how many times I played Oregon Trail back then, but that was probably one of the most epic games. Now, the first computer that I had at my house, ironically, was given to me, I think by my aunt and uncle that didn't want it anymore. And I don't even remember the name of it. I want to say Key Pro 80 or something. So it was this kind of small box with a screen that big. You could take the keyboard and put it like this and take it like a suitcase almost.
A luggable.
Yeah, it's a luggable. It was a luggable.
Yeah.
So
because it's not like a laptop. Everyone's like, oh,
no.
It's a laptop. You just lift it up, and when he says screen, we're talking like a tube, right?
Yeah, a tube screen, and it was a real mini one, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And no one else in my family was really interested in this thing. They thought it was like, what are we going to use this for? It's cool, Theo. You can go play with it. And I said, great. And it had I think it even had two, might have had 1 or 2 disk drives, which was a big deal to have 2 in one,
Like copy 2
disks it might have had 2. But there were some programs that were on some of the disks, and so I used to play mostly just with 2 main ones. So then I was already into collecting baseball cards, and what could you do with the computer? Well, you just have this kind of like database thing, and I just listed all my baseball cards.
Oh, wow.
I know it sounds really stupid, but it was just like, well, oh wow, I've got this one, card number so and so, and extreme manual input. I mean, no automation really, very, really, really basic. And they had these other really funny games that were basically like the Choose Your Own Adventure books, but it was just on the computer screen, and it was like Star Trek. It was like, the enemy is near, and what do you want to do? Phaser power 1, shield, or escape. Yep. It was just like, more intense than the story, and it was only 100% text based.
Yeah,
it was zero graphics.
It's all in your mind. You had to imagine everything. Yeah.
I really liked playing those games. I spent a lot of time doing that, and I spent a lot of time just like writing down in this database thing, like just stuff I had, mostly baseball cards or coins, just like.
It's interesting you mentioned baseball cards, because I talked to David Silver about his first computer, and it was an Apple II, like mine, like a lot of people, and we both had the same game called Micro League Baseball.
Oh, wow.
And it was this interactive thing, like you're saying. It was all just numbers and everything, so you'd have your team, and you'd say, I want to do a hit, I want to do a bunt, I want to do a steal.
I think I saw that one.
Those buttons,
I think a friend of mine had that.
It had all the players' names, so it was like Jackie Robinson, the Brooklyn Dodgers, and they were good at hitting home runs, or they were good at hitting things.
Right.
So you would swing harder or swing less or whatever. But it was all just text. It was all just numbers, and but we both agreed we memorized baseball players' names. That's what it was good for.
And so then when I got a little older, again, it was not mine, but I spent a lot of time with this computer. What happened was, so I guess whenever Windows 3.1 came out, my friend's dad, who did a lot of construction work and other things like that, he had his own company, and so he really needed a computer for the plans and all that stuff. And so when Windows 3.1 came out, he was like, wow, and he got this one, and he was like, you can have this computer. We were like, wow. He had his own 486, you know what I mean? And I remember then, we knew how to use it basically by reading the back of the game box, like how to get the game to work.
Sure.
But then we were like, okay, type in directory. Okay, look for the executable files. Okay, directory / so-and-so, so it lists it better. Okay, put this disk in and see what's on it. And like hunting for like, Easter eggs on the discs or whatever, you know what I mean? Like weird.
They used to have things you could edit your save file. And just add more money to your account.
Right. We would try to like find or edit game editor, whatever. I mean, it was all based on game stuff. We played all kinds of games on that. But and then later, even with the Windows machines, what I used to do is, don't tell anyone, I used to go in, when Walmart first came out, they had a bunch of computers in their computer section, and they had Wolfenstein on them, and you could play, and I'd be like, okay, later, I'll be in the computer section, just come pick me up.
That's right, I'll be there.
And I'd go over there and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to play Wolfenstein, and everyone else is like shopping, and I don't even care about this. I'm just going to go buy a tape, take all my allowance money, buy a tape, and then, as a music tape for all of you out there wondering, because that's like, for $10 or like $8 or whatever, on sale for $5 maybe, and then, buy that and then go play Wolfenstein at Walmart. And that's my Walmart experience when Walmart first launched. But
that's amazing they had Wolfenstein in there. That's a game where you run around killing Nazis. It's relatively violent compared to Oregon Trail.
I know, but they had them on there. And then there was another thing I used to then just like try to do, gags, like reset all of the computers at the same time. I don't know, you like get all the weirdest screen saver, change the backgrounds. It's not hacking, it's just, fooling around with whatever, you can.
Well, I
little stuff like that.
The same thing, and you're talking about things you don't want to admit. And it's, you're a kid and you know how to do a couple of things on a computer, and you can break them pretty good.
Sure.
Sadly, once in a while, if we found a Radio Shack computer and they hadn't put a password on it, you'd go back to the command line, delete their autoconfig.sys, and they're like command.bat. There's a couple of loading things, config.sys that would come up. If they're gone, the computer would just boot to a command line, and most people are just like, I give up. So yeah, we griefed a couple computers at Radio Shack once or twice.
Oh, wow.
They probably just had to put the original discs in. I don't think it was that much damage, but when you're a kid, it's like, that's hacking.
Yes.
Oh, we hacked them. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
You know, it was a time of prank phone calls. You'd call someone up and say stupid things and annoy them. And yeah, we called up a lot of people and we annoyed them. That was one of the things we did. But Theo, you started playing games and you got more computers. How did you build from playing games on the computers to Bitcoin? Like,
That's a pretty big step.
Did it bring you
there's
to
more
Photoshop or programming? Where did you go next?
Not really.
With the computer?
So with the computer, I didn't, between the 486 and the next step, I didn't do a lot because we still didn't have one at home until probably like 1994 or 1995. We got a Gateway 2000, which was like one of the, for those of you who don't know, was one of the breakthrough home computer packages. It was like they made it real easy, and you got a printer with it, and you got it. All it was a Windows PC, but it was just packaged in this way, and it came to your home in this box that was had cow on the outside.
Like a cow.
So basically, it's kind of like how Amazon is now, but they just did it as a company. They would deliver the whole thing to you, and they made it extremely easy, and everyone was getting them, and we finally got one. So that was it. But between that, I mean, I think for the whole Bitcoin thing, it has way more. It's not the computer aspect, of course, was really important, but I mean, always I was into gold and silver and that kind of stuff. Not that when I was a kid I studied economics or something, but it was just something.
Little child Theo stacking the gold.
It was just something that was always in the family. So my grandparents lived in the Great Depression. And, my grandfather was really successful, but he would, he was always really frugal. And he would always give silver dollars sometimes for important birthdays or other things. So it was always a thing of value. And, my parents, too, they didn't really push it on me at all. And neither did my grandparents. But it was just something everyone's like, oh, well, that's a silver dollar. Keep that. Yeah. That's really important.
So you were taught the value of sound money early on.
In a way, yeah.
That helped you identify Bitcoin when it came along?
Oh, well, sure. Well, I was always interested in, anything with silver and gold and treasure. Not treasure in the sense, pirate treasure, of course. But, so my uncle, he was, back then, he was really into metal detecting. And he found a lot of stuff like Civil War relics and all this kind of stuff. So, of course, I was into that, too. And, of course, you can find other stuff. Like sometimes you find coins or you find other things. So I was always fascinated with anything like that. So then I think you automatically learn, the value of these things just automatically being around that kind of stuff.
Well, it's interesting to see how people either learn that in their childhood or they learned it in college or whatever it is. I remember it wasn't until I took a detailed history course about the 1900s to the 1930s that I really found out about the Federal Reserve, and I really found out about the gold standard and the sound money and how it was before and how it was after. And they don't teach you that in just the general classes. It's an added study. I mean, they'll teach you about the Deutschmarks in the Weimar Republic and how they had wheelbarrows full of them, but they won't go into it too much that we're doing the same thing at maybe a slower level.
Yeah. So there's probably two things. There was this really cool 486 game, and it was something like, stock market trading or something. And all it was like, do you want to buy penny stocks? Do you want to buy blue chip stocks? Or do you want to buy bonds or something like that? And you say, yes, I want to put $1,000 of our bank in penny stocks. And you hit enter, and it's like the next day, and it just shows the prices. And, so that we really
news or something?
There would be like news or something.
A fire at the factory. Your stock is doomed. I played
that
a Wall Street kid for Nintendo. Actually, it was a probably a similar game.
It's like a
Maybe
real
even the same,
basic
like-
version of that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
real basic. Yeah. But we used to really like playing that, and we used to play Railroad Tycoon, which is like next level, because then we figured out that the key to that is all of the speculation and not actually building the railroads. Like, I mean, of course it's about building the railroads, but that you can, make the other guys bankrupt by doing all kinds of kind of like market manipulation, basically.
This is too real. This game
Yeah,
is too
yeah.
accurate.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Really, it's really good. So I think that, and then later, I got in. So then a kind of a bigger jump. I got into domain names. So many years later, like buying and selling domain names or making little websites, and trying to get traffic there and put ads on there and all this kind of stuff, right? So that kind of thing.
You weren't just squatting to resell them. I remember
squatting.
One time,
I don't agree with squatting, but I was doing that too.
If you put a website on it, it's not squatting. But
that is
I remember
true.
One time I went to the computer labs, and there was these people, and they had like 4 computers open, and they were going from one to one. They're like, "Oh, get that! Oh, get this!" And they were just buying domain names.
Sure.
And they just had this idea, like, if we get ketchupandmustard.com, we're going to sell it to the Heinz Corporation,
sure.
and we're going to make a fortune. And maybe they hit on some of those. There were a lot of early domain names you could get. You could buy. A company's name like Budweiser, and see how it goes. Sometimes you get a couple grand, sometimes you just get sued and give it up for nothing.
That's true. It was copyright like that.
It was very early, and you could get a lot of things like ketchup.com. That's not copyright. If you have that, you can sell
No, there's
it
definitely predatory practices with that still that go on, but it's nothing like it was. Probably one of the weirdest or most elaborate, semi-elaborate predatory domain practices was this guy I was chatting with. He goes, "Yeah, this is what I do. I look who just won a big game show and has a lot of money, and then I buy the domain name with their name, and I try to sell it to them." I was like, that's one of the worst predatory, like, weirdest. I mean, okay, they have money, but it's just like the weirdest, like one of the, so that's the like dark side of that. On the other hand, domains are digital goods. Now it's a little bit more complicated because they expire. So it's very centralized. You have to pay each year to continue to have the right, essentially, to use that domain. So it's not, people will say like internet property, and it is in a way, but it's more complicated because it's quite centralized, the whole domain name system.
Well, and like you're saying, it really is internet property because you can send it to someone over the internet.
You
don't
can.
have to meet with someone. The actual signing of the key or transferring of the thing happens in the digital space.
Totally. And there's a lot of friction when you try to change the ownership of a domain. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's all kinds of stuff. So then, believe it or not, there was a time, and I was a moderator at a domain name forum. It's called namepros.com. It still exists. It's one of the biggest ones. Yeah. And then there's a chat, like a troll box. It was always really active back then. And then what happened was the whole thing with Cyprus happened. And we were all talking like, "Oh yeah, that's crazy. What the hell is going on?" and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I bought a Bitcoin and I sold it. I made a lot of money." And then like the next day, be like, "Man, it went down a lot." Yeah. So like for that time, the domain name chat troll box became like a crypto chat box kind of, for a few days there when there was the real big volatility. I was like, "What the hell is this shit?" And so I went and I, just started doing research. Well, this is kind of cool, and then I remember and someone was like, "Yeah, you should mine it. You got to mine it." I said, "Okay, great. I'm going to do that." Yeah. So I signed up for a mining pool because I figured out you have to, and it said, "Oh, enter worker name," and I thought, "The hell? This sounds like a multi-level marketing thing. Like I got to enter like my my down worker, my downline, like what do you mean my worker? What the hell is this? Like the biggest scam." But no, what I did is I made a wallet and I started going to faucets. Because of course I typed into Google how to get free Bitcoin. And of course then you get faucets. And back then, of course, I didn't pay a lot, but they did pay some. So, I minced, probably, $20 or $50 worth of Bitcoin in, I don't know, a month of like when I'm just chatting in this chat room and on the side I'm like, filling out captchas for some faucets, and I was like, well, this is really cool. So I have a little, and then next thing happens a little bit by chance is that I was already at a co-working space, and some people I don't even know registered that they're going to do a Bitcoin meetup at my co-working space. I was like, that's weird. I'm into Bitcoin. What is this?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you know. And so then I met them, and then so that now we all allow us to call ourselves co-founders of the Bitcoin meetup.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if anyone that's there the first time is allowed to say that you're a co-founder.
There
now.
you go.
So
you know,
then you're But
that's
anyway,
really
but that's kind of like that's just like how it happened, basically.
I found out about the same time. I mean, I knew about it before, but when I really got into it was the Cypress thing. So I looked back at the ecosystem. And I was like, oh wow, Coinbase and BitPay, these are real companies. You can actually buy it. You can actually use it as a merchant. Before I'd looked at it, it was like command line. I could see how the early adopters would get rich. I already felt I had missed the boat on that. It was at like $1, then it was at $30.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, I'm so dumb. I should have got it at $1. I had no idea it would go to even 3,000, 5,000 today. I mean, that's insane. But it just, at the command line, it wasn't there, and then later it was. But it's neat that you had the crew to help you out. The crew in the chat room, the crew at the meetup.
Sure.
All these like real world people that came along. Mine was a lot more, I just had to go out there and I was like, this is it. I'm pulling the switch. It's Bitcoin time. And then a few weeks later, I was making the Mad Bitcoin show, and I was just cranking them out and just trying to talk to everybody I could, because I felt people really needed to know about this Bitcoin and they didn't know. And it's funny, it's still kind of the same way today. We have a lot more people into crypto, but your average general person, they just don't know, and they need to know. I think it's important for the future.
It's important.
Well, that's a really cool story, Theo, how you got your first computer and got into Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's the story, yeah. I did a lot of other things with it. So then the Gateway 2000 was important because it had internet. It had a 14.4 modem.
Hey, that's a fast
and then,
one.
Right. And then it was like, okay, then it's all over. Then you're connected.
Beep, beep,
beep,
beep,
beep, beep, yeah. So.
Well, and what are you doing now in crypto? Because I know you've
done
a lot of interviews here on the World Crypto Network. You guys can check that out below. We've got the Transmission Show with Theo. Got a lot of
That's pretty old school, yeah.
Theo's been around the HCPP live chats, done some live interviews with us, of course.
That's true.
Maybe, I don't know if you've been on the Mad Bitcoin Show, but maybe we can arrange that.
I don't think I've ever been on the Mad Bitcoin show itself.
Try to get you some Yacht Chain or something. Get you some
Yacht Chain.
Early Yacht Chain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm the chief of memetics at Proof of Work Media, and we are a boutique strategy and design company. So, yeah, basically I do all kinds of stuff. Anything from content to just strategy, advice, to that looks cool, that doesn't look cool, let's change that. So anything between that. I also do a lot of talks about different topics. Lately, a whole lot of stuff about art and blockchain, but I can also do talks about betting and prediction markets, or just crypto in general, anything like that. I also have a website, dgenbet.com, where I write about sports betting, that kind of thing. I have a Telegram community, t.me/sportsbet. That's my Telegram chat for sports betting.
And Theos, the world's greatest new currency.
That's right.
Much better than EOS, has two more letters. That makes all the difference.
Yes, so so that's true. Also, I'm also involved. I mean, so Rare Pepe Foundation is not really active in like taking new artwork, but there's also Bitcoins. So of course I can use this time to shill Bitcoins. Bitcoins.com, the idle farming game on the Bitcoin blockchain. Bitcoins.com. And of course, that's not all. There's also collectible cards in the game, and one of the collectible cards is Theos, kind of like EOS, but better. So there's also that. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I'm going to, I came here. I'm not doing a talk or anything, but it's just good to hang out with everyone. Yeah, so I guess that sums up pretty much what I'm doing. I'm writing for another blog called Chain of Thoughts. As I stumbled because we were going to call it Chains of Thoughts, and then someone said, "Well, that sounds like you're you know, that sounds like you're in jail or something. You know, like,
you know, save that one for later.
At first it sounded like a really good name, you know, play on blockchain and all this stuff, like chains of thought. I was like, yeah, the thoughts are linked together. And then another one of my friends said, no, I think we need to change it. Chain of thoughts is better. It's more but yeah, in the meantime, so I'm going to call them out. In the meantime, I'm the only one writing for this thing. It's supposed to be, you know, a bunch of people writing, and now it's just another Theo Medium blog. Basically, you know. So I'm writing for that. Sometimes I do stuff for Bits Online. There's another project coming called Bitcoin Weird. Keep Bitcoin Weird. That's a real It's not a joke. This is real. Sometimes if I'm joking, it's just it's kind of like, instead of doing NDA, you just say something really bold, and the people that get it will get it.
Well, you also have to use the sarcasm. Most people don't understand the sarcasm or the facetiousness, and you can go pretty far into that. And there's, you know, if there's 1% out there getting the joke, I think it's worth making. I'll stick with it. But again, 99% are just, what is he talking about? Yeah,
it's kind of hard to reference, you know, World Crypto Network videos from 2015 or something. Not everyone. Not everyone will get the joke. You know, for example. So we're getting kind of old. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. If anyone wants to talk to me about dank memes, degenerate sports betting, anything like that, then hit me up.
All right. Well, very cool. Thanks so much, Theo, for being on the show. And we'll have to do a follow-up soon.
Right on.
Until next time, bye-bye.
Later, guys.